Mercury just did something nobody in the outboard world saw coming. They built a motor with less horsepower than the competition's biggest engine and somehow made that bigger engine pointless overnight. It sounds backwards. In this class, the rule was always simple. Biggest number wins. More horsepower, done. But Mercury's new 425 takes on the 450s that outgun it on paper and beats them where it actually counts. And they never had to add a single horse to do it. How is that even possible? How does a smaller engine kill a bigger one? That's exactly what we're getting into. The one number Mercury quietly changed. The real tested proof that it works. And the catch you need to know before you fall in love with it. Stick with me because by the end, this changes how you should shop for a motor completely. So the number nobody was watching is this: weight. For years, the whole high horsepower race was about cramming more power into the motor. And almost nobody was talking about what that power actually costs you. The pounds hanging off your transom. Mercury flipped it. Instead of chasing a bigger horsepower number, they built their V10 to be radically lighter than everything else in the class. And that one decision is what makes the 425 beat the 450s. This is why weight matters more than the horsepower number, and it's simple once you see it. Every pound of engine hanging off the back of your boat is a pound the engine has to haul around before it moves you or your gear. Two motors, one making 450 horsepower but heavy, one making 425 but far lighter, and the lighter one can actually accelerate a loaded boat faster because it's not dragging all that extra weight. Power on a spec sheet is one thing. Power to weight, how much muscle you've got for every pound you're carrying, is what you actually feel on the water. And that's the game Mercury decided to win instead. Now put real numbers on it, because this is where it stops being theory. Mercury's 425 V10 weighs around 695 pounds. The competitor's big motor it's aimed at, the heavy V8 from a major rival, weighs about 950. That is a gap of roughly 254 pounds on a single engine. Let that sink in. You could bolt on Mercury's motor, add a second person, a full cooler, and a tank of gas, and still be lighter than the one competing engine by itself. And if you're running twins, two of these instead of two of those, you're saving over 500 pounds off the back of the boat. That is not a small tuning difference. That is a different boat. So, a lighter motor that carries less dead weight can out-accelerate a more powerful one that's dragging an extra 250 pounds. That's how a 425 kills a 450. But a claim like that is easy to make on a stage at a boat show. The real question is whether it actually holds up when someone straps these motors to a boat and runs them. It does, and the tested numbers are next. This is where a lot of marketing claims fall apart. But this one doesn't, and that's what makes it worth your attention. Mercury put the 425 V10 head-to-head against that 450 competitor on a 26-foot center console loaded to 5,000 pounds. The kind of heavy real-world setup where a weaker engine would get exposed. And the lighter Mercury didn't just keep up, it won. Out of the hole, getting that heavy boat up and moving, the 425 was 3 seconds faster from 0 to 30 miles an hour than the 450. 3 seconds doesn't sound like much until you're the one waiting for a loaded boat to climb onto plane. And in that class, against a motor with more horsepower, that's a beating. The smaller engine accelerated the same heavy boat quicker than the bigger one, exactly like the weight math said it would. The theory held up in the water. And it wasn't just acceleration. The 425 ran 22% quieter at cruise than the 450, which matters more than it sounds. Because these motors go on big boats where people are trying to talk, fish, and spend the whole day aboard without a headache. It also carries a 150 amp alternator, the highest output in its class, which means it charges your batteries harder. A real deal for boats loaded with electronics, trolling motors, and sound systems. So the lighter motor is quicker, quieter, and charges better all at once, while giving up horsepower on paper. That's not a narrow win. That's Mercury changing what the best motor in the class even means. Here's what tells you this wasn't a one-off. On the same day Mercury dropped the 425, they also quietly upgraded the motor right below it, the 350 V10. And the numbers on that one are almost harder to believe. Against a competitor's 350, the enhanced Mercury was 4 seconds faster from 0 to 30 with a heavy load. And get this, nearly 18 seconds faster from a dead stop all the way to top speed. 18 seconds. In a drag race across the bay, the other motor is a small dot behind you by the time you both hit the top end. And it charges like nothing else in its class. Mercury says the upgraded 350 puts out 4 times the alternator output at cruise compared to a competing 350. 4 times. On a modern boat buried in electronics, that's the difference between your batteries slowly dying on a long day and never thinking about it at all. It's also 40% quieter at cruise than that competitor. So the same story that made the 425 special, more real performance, more charging, less noise, Mercury ran it straight down the lineup. This isn't one lucky engine. It's a whole platform that changed the rules, top to bottom. Now step back, because there's a bigger shift hiding underneath all these numbers, and it's the part longtime boaters are still adjusting to. For decades, the reputation in this class was simple. Yamaha was the tank, the bulletproof, run forever, never think about it motor. And if you wanted rock-solid reliability, that's where you went. Mercury had the performance crowd, but Yamaha owned the trust. That gap has been closing fast, and with the V10, a lot of people in the industry think Mercury didn't just close it. They jumped ahead. The growing consensus among boaters and dealers is that Mercury has erased the old reliability doubts and pulled in front of innovation, performance, and the sheer completeness of its high horsepower lineup. Meanwhile, the big motor the V10 is beating, that heavy V8 from the rival, is exactly the engine now getting called out for its weight. That's the quiet story inside this launch. It isn't just one motor beating another motor. It's the company that used to win on power out-engineering the company that used to win on trust, on its own home turf. Now, to be fair, real long-term reliability takes years on the water to prove, and Yamaha's track record is genuinely earned. But the fact that this is even a debate now, that tells you how far the ground has shifted. The practical detail that seals it is this. It runs on regular 87-octane gas. That might sound minor until you remember that a lot of high-performance motors in this range demand premium fuel. And on a big boat that drinks 100 gallons at a time, the difference between regular and premium adds up fast. Every single fill, for as long as you own it. So Mercury gave you the performance that beats the 450 without the premium fuel penalty that usually comes with a motor this capable. That's a rare combination. There's another quiet win built into this thing, and it's aimed right at people who already own a boat. The V10 uses a 26-inch center-to-center mounting, which is Mercury's way of saying they designed it to bolt onto boats that were already rigged for other big outboards. In plain terms, if you've got a boat running an older 6-cylinder Verado or even a competitor's motor, this thing was built to be a repower, a straight swap onto the transom you already have. Mercury even sells it through dedicated repower centers. So this isn't only for people buying a brand new boat. It's for anyone looking to modernize the rig they've already got. Now the catch, because there's always one. And you deserve to hear it straight. This is premium Mercury power, and it's priced like it. The 425 runs about $1,500 more than the 400 V10 right below it. And high horsepower Verados are expensive motors to begin with. We're talking serious money once you're rigged and running, especially on twins. And the second honest point? The 425 didn't replace anything. Mercury kept the 400 in the lineup. So this is the new top of the range, not a budget option. If you want the lightest, quickest, quietest motor in the class, you pay for the privilege. It's worth it for the right buyer, but nobody's calling it cheap. So none of that changes the headline. For the person who wants the best high horsepower outboard on the water right now, weight, speed, noise, charging, and fuel all considered, Mercury just built it. And they did it with fewer horses than the motor they beat. Which brings us to what this actually means for you. And that word, expensive, is worth pausing on because a motor like this is a serious investment. And protecting it is where most owners quietly lose money. Whether you're running a brand new V10 or the motor that's on your boat right now, the day something goes wrong is the day you find out how easy it is to get overcharged at the shop. A padded quote on a big motor isn't a few dollars, it's hundreds or thousands. That's the whole reason I built the Outboard Repair Defense Guide. What every common repair should actually cost, the exact tricks shops use to inflate the bill, and the jobs you can handle yourself. It's in the description. On a motor this expensive to own, knowing the real number before they say it is the cheapest insurance there is. So strip away the horsepower bragging, and this is what actually changed. For as long as anyone can remember, you shopped for a big outboard by chasing the biggest horsepower number you could afford. Mercury just made that the wrong way to shop. The motor that wins this class now isn't the one with the most power. It's the one with the best power for its weight, and that flips the whole decision on its head. For you, that means a few real things. If you're buying a new boat in this range, don't just compare horsepower numbers on a brochure. Compare what each motor weighs, because that's what you'll actually feel every time you punch the throttle with a full load. If you already own a big center console and you've been dreaming about more performance, the repower path is real. This motor was built to swap onto the boat you've already got. And if you run twins, the weight savings stops being a nice bonus and becomes a genuinely different boat. 500 pounds lighter on the transom changes how it rides and handles, and how much fuel it burns. Now, is it for everybody? No. It's expensive. It's aimed at the top of the market, and if you run a modest boat with a modest motor, none of this lands on your dock tomorrow. But that's not really the point. The point is that the smartest company in the class just proved that the number everyone's been shopping by for decades isn't the number that matters. And once you've seen that, you can't unsee it. The next time someone brags about their horsepower, you'll be the one asking what it weighs. That's how a 425 killed a 450. Not with more power, but by finally paying attention to the thing everyone else ignored. Whatever ends up on your transom, buy it knowing what actually makes a motor fast. I'll see you on the next one.